But someone asked me, it's funny, speaking of X-Men, over the weekend, Halle Berry was very notoriously given a fake script for the third X-Men movie. She was not signed for that film, so they gave her a large pay bump to $15 million. And they gave her a fake script where her character was going to be the undisputed lead. Everybody else, including the director, knew it was a fake script that was only there to get Halle Berry to sign on to the movie. Somebody asked me, why didn't she sue Fox? And there are complicated reasons for this. Scripts do change all the time when actors sign on to movies. They sign on to make one movie, thinking they're making one movie, they end up with something else completely different. So there's that. But there's also the idea that if you are going to have a lawsuit in Hollywood, everybody is going to pay attention. And it will likely wreck your career because even if you are in the right, people will see you as a liability, either for the public relations of it or the people that hold grudges and don't want to work with this person anymore. There are a lot of complicated reasons for it.
Howdy, friends. If it's Friday, it is time for another Entertainment Expose with your two favorite hosts, Scott Fullerton and David Reddish here, bringing you all the entertainment news that's fit to print. David, how are you today, my friend?
I am doing well, thank you very much. It's a beautiful day here in town.
Doing well here, and I'm glad to hear it. We always tell everyone we tape on Wednesdays and air on Fridays. You were celebrating a birthday, so happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Today.
Thanks.
Hopefully by the weekend you are engulfed with brunch invitations and things like that. So enjoy, my friend.
Thank you. I'm going to head out to Palm Springs this weekend, I think. So there will be brunch to be had for sure.
For sure. Well, lots of fun little entertainment things today. We can talk about D23 a bit. Our Galeka winners have been announced for our television awards. That's always fun. A couple fun things out there. Since you're the birthday boy, what would you like to start with today?
Well, my first notation is sadly a down note. We should acknowledge the passing of actress Hayden Panettiere at 36. Such a ripe young age. She, of course, was known for the TV show Heroes, as well as the Scream franchise. She was found dead in her home. Details at this point are not clear, though breaking news as of this morning. She did die of cardiac arrest. We do know that. The coroner is still giving her an autopsy. There's still a toxicology report waiting to come back, but we do know she had taken an overdose of medication. She was found with open containers next to her. The police have come out and said that she did ingest the medication. It's not clear at this point if there was criminal conduct involved in that or if she took it herself. It's not clear if it was a deliberate overdose or an accidental overdose. Hayden was somebody that did struggle with drugs in the past and only recently has started to talk about that and the effect it had on her career. I really applaud her courage for doing that, but this is a really, really sad way to end that story.
Yeah, it's sad indeed. I mean, fantastic actress. I came to know her as most people did in Heroes. She was a child star doing some things before Heroes, but that's where I came across her. Of course, I'm a huge Connie Britton fan, so I watched a couple episodes of Nashville here and there when I could, and they did a fantastic job on Nashville together. Very sad for the family. I mean, her brother died of an enlarged heart not too long ago, about 2 or 3 years ago, and now this. I don't like to talk about causes until everything's confirmed, but as you've said, everything. Talk about the ex-boyfriend's talking out a little bit. The mom is talking out a little bit, but I don't really want to comment on anyone until we find out more information, but very good job in the reporting there. We will see what happens. Definitely a sad time in Hollywood. She was definitely a talented actress for sure.
Yes.
What else?
Okay, so what do you have that's more positive than that, Scott? Please lift us up.
More positive than that. Well, I did enjoy a lot of the D23 coverage. I know it's going to depress the hell out of you, the X-Men coverage. I'll let you cover that in a second. My ray of sunshine in there is I did have a friend that was in the audience for Lin-Manuel's award of the Legendary Award for the Disney Legends Award. So Lin-Manuel, I always forget how to say his third name. What is it?
Miranda.
Thank you, Miranda. Lin-Manuel Miranda got the Legends Award. Fantastic tribute to him, going through all of his shows from Encanto to, of course, Hamilton to his homage to Puerto Rico and everything he's done. So it was a fantastic star-studded show for that. So that was on a high note. We did hear about X-Men, which I'll let you go into because some of your unfortunately bitter predictions did come true in that. They talked about a lot of sequels coming out of there.
Yeah.
But overall, I think it was a positive experience for most of the fans. What do you get from D23?
I mean, I wasn't at D23, so I just paid attention to the sort of trailers and announcements that were made. The Ahsoka Season 2 trailer for Star Wars fans looks absolutely terrific. It was the same trailer they showed at Comic-Con, but the new Avengers Doomsday trailer also has been released to the internet, where you get a better look at some of the X-Men characters for the first time.
Right.
Still has me very excited. And they announced the new cast of the X-Men. And I'm happy to say that last week when we talked about this, I said the name Christopher Abbott. Well, he was announced to be Professor X at D23 this past weekend. The thing is, the man's only 40 years old and he hasn't done very much, certainly not that I've ever seen. So I'm wondering, okay, do you want these people legit doing this into their 90s? Because they could theoretically be doing this for the next 40 to 50 years. I mean, Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen are pushing 90 at this point, and they're still going. Good on them. It will be interesting to see how the actors sort of fit into their roles. Christopher Abbott, it's hard to judge when he hasn't really done very much, but in my view, they're casting him way, way too young, and there's nothing about him physically or anything that I've seen. He was on the TV series Girls that would suggest Patrick Stewart, James McAvoy, brilliant psychic Professor X to me. I know he has been doing some stage work recently, which has been widely acclaimed. So here's hoping he has the gravitas that role really needs to be pulled off. We'll see where they go with it. Adam Driver, thankfully, is not playing Magneto, but he is playing Mr. Sinister, which enrages me both because I loathe Adam Driver as an actor. I do not, Scott. I do not understand why people find him interesting, why people find him to be talented or handsome or compelling. I've enjoyed him basically in 2 movies, but didn't think that was anything particularly remarkable. And I tend to attribute that more to the directors of those movies than to him personally. I don't get it. He's playing the X-Men villain, Mr. Sinister, who we've never seen in live action before. But this also kind of disappoints me. And on the subject of the gay of it all, Mr. Sinister in recent years has been played on the comic page as a very feminine, very effete, kind of lascivious gay man. So it's a kind of tailor-made part for someone like John Cameron Mitchell or someone like Billy Porter. Both of those guys could have run with it and taken it into very dark, frightening places. I don't foresee Adam Driver doing that, and I don't foresee him being frightening because there's nothing about a dead horse that scares me. So we'll see where they go with that. I know there are other X-Men castings that have not yet been announced, and conspicuously, there was no announcement for Beast, Wolverine, Magneto, or Mystique. Those 4 are considered to be core members of the X-Men sort of universe. So we'll see if maybe they're saving them for later movies. As we reported on this show before, Beast reportedly is part of the new cast, and Charles Melton turned down the role. So maybe they're looking for a backup Beast right now. Who knows? We will keep everybody posted on that. Before we stray too far from the X-Men, I should also give a shout out to X-Men 97, which wrapped season 2 last Wednesday, ended on a high note. And it's interesting to me because everyone I know has really enjoyed the show, but it seems like there are some detractors on the internet that are talking about how season 2 was a disaster. But this basically all comes back to they fired Beau DeMayo, who was the showrunner on season 1, who was fired for sexual harassment of the cast of the crew, and who did have story input to season 2, but they largely changed the arc from where it was going, and they dropped the final episode where the villain Onslaught was set to be introduced. So we'll see if Onslaught shows up in season 3, which is in production now. I did, over the weekend, happen to get some lowdown on what's going on with Beau DeMayo personally. We've talked on the show before about how he dropped off the radar. He was going so far as to make sex tapes on OnlyFans. He did have an OnlyFans while he was working on the show before all the mishigas and blow up over his conduct. But he didn't show anything full frontal nude. He does now, and he's also making sex tapes. Though, as Vanity Fair reported, he's completely disappeared off the grid and is no longer commenting to reporters. Apparently, this has something to do with the fact that he is suing Disney, and the case is set to go to trial. Now, as someone who worked very closely with the Disney lawyers for many, many years, many miserable years, had nothing to do with them personally. It was just not the kind of work that I wanted to be doing. As someone who worked with those lawyers, I know how smart they are, and I know how ruthless they can be, and I know how ruthless as a company Disney is. For Beau DeMayo to take them on, he either has to have something very, very concrete that proves he was wrongly terminated, or he's completely out of his mind, because they can hold this up in court for years. It is going to cost extraordinary amounts of money for both sides. So who knows what will come of it. And there's also, in Hollywood, and we can talk about all the reasons why this is gross, and it is. But someone asked me, it's funny, speaking of X-Men, over the weekend, Halle Berry was very notoriously given a fake script for the third X-Men movie. She was not signed for that film, so they gave her a large pay bump to $15 million, and they gave her a fake script where her character was going to be the undisputed lead. Everybody else, including the director, knew it was a fake script that was only there to get Halle Berry to sign on to the movie. Somebody asked me, why didn't she sue Fox? And there are complicated reasons for this. Scripts do change all the time when actors sign on to movies. They sign on to make one movie, thinking they're making one movie, they end up with something else completely different. So there's that. But there's also the idea that if you are going to have a lawsuit in Hollywood, everybody is going to pay attention. And it will likely wreck your career, because even if you are in the right, people will see you as a liability, either for the public relations of it, or the people that hold grudges and don't want to work with this person anymore. There are a lot of complicated reasons for this. So the idea that Beau DeMayo is going to sue Disney is really, really incendiary. So what this means for the future of X-Men 97, the ratings are still fantastic. It still costs them nothing to produce. It's not going anywhere. We will see what the quality of the coming seasons is. I'm very cautiously optimistic. I feel like they stuck the landing on this more or less, and I'm excited to see where they go in the future. It is, I guess, one of Disney Plus's most popular shows. It's the most popular animated Marvel show ever. So that's great. But we haven't heard the last of this. And I don't think this will in any way affect the X-Men movies. But like I say, Adam Driver's Mr. Sinister, that's not a plus. And we don't know. I do have a bit of gossip about Avengers Doomsday. I don't know if we should talk about this or not, because I have not been able to confirm this detail, but it is an eyebrow raiser. Should we talk about this, Scott? What do you think?
Let's save it, confirm it, save it, because I think we'll be talking about that for quite a while. I mean, there's so much to go about it. The ticket sales are through the roof and everything. Last things I'll add to the Disney, they did announcing their slates. What the live action Tangled is coming up, and I just want to give a shout out to our friend Mikey Montemayor, who was co-writer on that script and has recently signed to CAA for a couple other scripts. So we're going to have Mikey on the show very soon. And also they dropped the Vision Quest trailer from Disney that looks very interesting. I am a huge James Spader fan, and I am excited to see what he does in his role in this. It's very, very interesting in the trailer. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think we've talked about before on here, Disney's been doing television a lot better than they've been doing the movies lately. And so I am looking forward to Vision Quest quite a bit as well.
I think you mean Paul Bettany. Paul Bettany plays Vision. James Spader is not.
Paul Bettany plays Vision, but James Spader came on to like a father figure bad guy in this series.
Is he Ultron again?
Can't really see it's him, but I love James Spader as an actor.
He's a great actor. I thought they completely wasted him in the second Avengers movie, where he could have been a very, very frightening, compelling villain, and instead Joss Whedon kept giving him jokes, and it just sort of undermined the whole project.
Exactly.
But he deserves better. Hopefully he gets it in Vision Quest.
He is looking a lot more fleshed out character, a lot more gravitas, dramatic character. So I'm looking forward to that.
Very cool.
What's next on your hit parade, my friend?
Well, I want to highlight a film that I caught this week. It just dropped to the public on Netflix today. It is called Free Fall, A Reckoning for Boeing. Now, this is a sequel to a 2022 documentary called Downfall, The Case Against Boeing, which covered Boeing, which is the main manufacturer of passenger airplanes in the United States,
Right.
covered a lot of their cost-cutting maneuvers that were directly resulting in plane crashes. There were problems with software. There were problems with equipment, things that were supposed to have fail-safes, backups. Those fail-safes and backups were all dropped in favor of cost-cutting, and it has cost hundreds and hundreds of lives. There are lawsuits about this, which is where Freefall picks up. It is a direct sequel, and it deals primarily with a man named John Barnett, who was a Boeing engineer who became a whistleblower, who was someone who actually recorded footage in Boeing plants, took statements from Boeing employees, and was going to the federal government to try and get a suit brought against Boeing for reckless endangerment of its passengers. I highly recommend this documentary, certainly for true crime fans, but also to anybody that enjoys air travel and who feels like maybe the experience has not been great recently. This is going to have something to do with it. John Barnett was found dead during his deposition that he was giving to the Justice Department. And the interesting thing here is that he had told friends and family before he went to do the deposition, if I turn up dead, it's not a suicide.
Oof.
Guess what? He turned up dead during his deposition of an apparent suicide. There was a note found. Video cameras did not record anyone near him. They did record him moving around the hotel. But it's really hard to look at it and not wonder if there's maybe trouble afoot. There's something else going on, because you're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars on the line here. Airplanes are obviously jaw-dropping expensive to manufacture. Collectively, the CEOs of Boeing over the past 10 or 20 years have made $500 billion, $500 million personally, something like that.
Right.
A huge amount of money. I'm telling everyone, go watch the movie, because you will be truly frightened at the ways that they have been cutting costs, the way that airplanes are literally just sort of taped together at times or banged together. Pieces don't fit together. It's very, very upsetting. And to me, it's indicative of something else we're seeing in American business, which is constant cost cutting at the expense of consumer safety and quality product. We talk about this a lot on this show, Scott, when it comes to movies and television, the way studios just want to crank them out. They don't want to spend a lot of money on them, or they will cut them back from what they are. They will tame them down because they don't want to offend anybody.
Mhm.
And the fact of the matter is, people aren't going to the movies because nobody's making movies worth watching. Nobody wants to pony up $30 for a piece of crap movie. That's why The Mandalorian and Grogu bombed. Hollywood box office is having a very good year this year, but that owes almost entirely to 3 movies: Toy Story 5, Spider-Man, Brand New Day, and The Odyssey. And then the pre-ticket sales for Dune Part 3 and Avengers Doomsday. When you stop and consider that there are 5 movies that are essentially buoying the entire industry, when you used to have 5 movies coming out the same day, all of which would do extremely well, we're at a very different point. And people say, oh, it's because of the pandemic. People don't want to go to movies. I still can't get a damn ticket to The Odyssey right now. I'm just saying. And it's because there are movies people want to see. They just want them to be good. All of which is to say, if you want to see a good movie, check out Free Fall, A Reckoning for Boeing. It is a horribly, horribly upsetting story. If I have one criticism of it, it's that the director, Rory Kennedy, doesn't really go into the reasons why the CEOs of Boeing have never been prosecuted for this. And there are sticky reasons as to why it's very, very difficult to prosecute a CEO. I wish the movie would have at least addressed that a little bit more clearly.
Right.
And the other thing is, and sorry to get political, everybody, but the fact of the matter is there were lawsuits moving against Boeing that were settled or dropped, all of which were dropped or settled by the Trump administration. They were given what sound like extreme fines, $3 billion, but for Boeing, that's nothing. So, and in the meantime, planes are still falling out of the sky. People are losing their relatives. They're losing their friends, and they have no kind of legal recourse and no peace, no punishment for the people who are truly responsible for this. So it's an incendiary and it's an important film. I recommend everybody check it out on Netflix right away.
I will check that out because I've not flown for a long time. I have lots of friends that have not flown for various reasons, that being one of them, the safety of airlines. So I will definitely check that out. Speaking of movies in general, a quick recap of box office. Of course, Spider-Man topped again for the 3rd week, breaking $2 billion one of only 8 movies ever to have done that.
Yeah.
Odyssey stayed in second place. There was the new third place for the new film by Devil Wears Prada girl. What's her name?
Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway, correct. Their movie was called The End of Oak Street.
The End of Oak Street.
It came in third place. I went to the movies this weekend to see the original cast of Six, the musical.
Oh, wow.
They taped that. They brought it back. Of course, if you're a big musical fan, you know David and I are that and of Broadway. Six premiered in West End quite a few years ago. They brought back the original cast of the West End for a one-night-only filming. They filmed at the Castle of Henry VIII there, which was very interesting. And it was just a great time at the theater. They did a little mini documentary beforehand and did the original cast recording of it. Only brought in $3 million, but it was number 5 at the studio. Hadestown, I think, a couple weeks ago brought in $10 million for its one-night-only showing at the theater. But still, it's a good... Came in 5th because of everything else going on. I enjoyed that immensely. And in the LGBTQ movie range, I don't know if you've seen it, but I caught up on a couple of films that I wanted to see this week. Mascarpone, a French language film that is dubbed in English. Fantastic movie. I can't recommend it enough. A guy that was with his husband for 12 years immediately out of high school. The husband wants to break up. He goes to live with this very avant-garde French person and ends up working in a bakery. And just a very sweet movie. So it's called Mascarpone. I recommend that highly in the LGBTQ movie ranks. Next, my friend, what do you got?
Well, it wouldn't be an Entertainment Exposed if we didn't talk about the Paramount Warner Bros. Buyout merger lawsuit, Ellison kerfuffle.
Right.
There were a couple developments this week. First, the Ellisons are pushing for a settlement so they can move forward with the merger. The attorney generals are currently resisting that. The theater owners were initially against the merger as well, though the Ellisons have placated them, saying we're going to release 30 movies a year in theaters. There is nothing to hold them to that, everybody. I'm just saying right now, like there's no legal recourse if one day they just say, oh, we're only going to put out one movie this year. So the theater owners are foolish for going along with this. The other thing is that the Ellisons said, well, unless you let us move forward with this merger, we're going to move Paramount Pictures out of California to Tennessee, is the state most often buzzed about. People keep asking me, people have asked me directly, do I think this is a bluff? And my answer is it a bluff if everybody already knows you're bluffing because your declaration is so absurd that it would just be impossible? The Ellisons are totally bluffing on this because everybody stop and consider for a moment what it would mean to pull Paramount Pictures out of California. You would have to move all your staff. You would either have to fire everybody and find people who are experienced enough to run a movie studio in Tennessee, good luck, in order to set up offices there. It would be a years-long process to do so, to find the office space and presumably the backlot and studio space where you could actually shoot productions. Even though Paramount doesn't shoot a lot on their backlot anymore, those sound stages are still important because they do a lot of reshoots there. They rent them out to other productions. They do, for example, if somebody's sick, if somebody is old, if somebody can't travel, they will film on the lot, even if the production is being filmed overseas. So the idea that Paramount's just going to pack up and find some magical new studio space in Tennessee is absurd. The idea that everyone at Paramount would just pack up and move is also absurd. Last year, you and I believe it was just last year, you and I talked about Disney trying to move its Imagineers to Orlando to cut costs in a similar way. And Disney had built a multi-million-dollar campus near the Orlando airport where all the Imagineers were supposed to be moved. And this ended up being a disaster because they ran into problems with the state. But more importantly, most of the engineers, the Imagineers, they all threatened to quit because they didn't want to move up, pack up and move their families to Orlando and to take a pay cut on top of that. So Disney pulled back. They now have this $100 million campus that is sitting there completely vacant, doing nothing, rotting in the swamps of Orlando.
Right.
Paramount would face all the same problems, everybody, if the Ellisons just immediately wanted to pack up and move out. It would also be a years-long process, even if they wanted to do that. And on top of it all, the Paramount studio lot used to be Desilu, the studio that was owned by Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, where shows like Mission Impossible, Star Trek, and I Love Lucy filmed. And before that, it was RKO. So you have all the history there, plus all the history of all the Paramount studios filming everything from the 10 Commandments, up to today, Mission Impossible, what have you. Those are historic sound stages. People are not going to want to see them demolished in their entirety. They're not going to want to see the lot bulldozed. And so even if they tried to bulldoze the lot or sell it off to somebody else, there would be all kinds of lawsuits, all kinds of citizen uproar to make sure that doesn't happen. The fact of the matter is, the Ellisons are bluffing here, and I hope the attorneys general hold firm and say, no, you can't have CNN because we know what you want to do. And the idea that you would establish some kind of board to oversee CNN to make sure it was more cultivated, which is one thing they promised, while also threatening to fire their entire staff. Nobody wants this. This is a bad idea. And so Paramount, I think it's time for you to pack up and go home, Ellisons. First, figure out what the hell you're doing with the studio you already have, because you don't even know.
Yeah, I've been following along as you have and hearing pretty much the same things. I know the Ellisons, through their attorney, tried to get a $1.8 billion bond because they're losing all that money.
Yes.
And that looks like that's a lawsuit that's going to fail miserably very soon. Yeah. But they were trying to cover the lawsuits, as we talked about the last couple of weeks. As of next month, they start losing $7 million a day for every day that the sale does not go through. They're trying to cover their losses on that. I have heard the only argument in the favor of selling Paramount is they would hopefully recoup some losses by selling that at a big, to get some money off it. But as you say, it's not going to happen. I mean, for those that don't live in California, Paramount is surrounded by the city of Hollywood and West Hollywood. And my friend lives a block away from there. You would have so much things you'd have to do zoning wise to sell that again. Like I said, I have friends that live literally a block from there. There's apartments a block away from the main Paramount studios. And you have the Hollywood Cemetery close by. And it would be such a kerfuffle. I don't think it's going to happen either. So I agree 100% for other reasons.
No, and the 12 attorneys general that are sort of overseeing this lawsuit, that are pressing the point, I think they're very smart, because we all know that the reason the Ellisons got Paramount to begin with was because they were indebted to Trump. We all know the reason they were going to get Warner Brothers was that they basically had gotten the Trump Justice Department to okay it with large campaign contributions and public support for Trump, and mucking about with CBS News to make it more favorable to the Trump administration, which should offend every American that actually cares about democracy. I think it's great to see someone stick it to them. And you're right, the billion-dollar fines that are going to kick in the next few weeks, those actually have the potential to bankrupt the Ellisons. So if I had to have a few words with them, I would say back down, mess with what you already have, let Netflix have Warner Brothers. You're going to have to get over the fact that you can't control the American news media all by yourself, out of hand, that people don't want this. And by the way, you have a studio you're not even paying attention to right now. This leads me to another point that I wanted to make, that Jane Weissman, who is the head of original content for Paramount Plus right now, is talking about how they're determining what's going to happen with the Star Trek brand right now. Right. And the Ellisons personally had previously said they wanted to cancel all the Star Trek shows in favor of new movies. Now it looks like they may be pivoting back to series. The truth is, nobody knows what the hell is going on, because the Ellisons don't know what the hell they're doing besides just buying up the toys so no one else can play with them. There you have it, everybody. Stop the steal.
There you go. Well, we can pretty much wrap it up. I mean, David and I have talked quite a few times. We are members of GALECA, the Gay and Lesbian Entertainment Critics Association. Still same initials, now called the Society, because we had to include all of our trans brother and sister writers and everything. But we do 3 award shows a year called the Dorian Awards. We do television, we do movies, and we do theater. So we have just announced our winners for the Dorian Television Awards, as voting is starting, final voting starting right now for the Emmys going on out there. Heated Rivalry and Hacks were our big winners for drama and for comedy. A couple of 3 specialty awards for Hannah Einbinder, however you pronounce her name, who I love, Lisa Kudrow, who I love, and of course for Jacob Tierney, who created the heated rivalry for that. A lot of good diversity there. I thought we did a good job. I mean, I don't know what you did for your nominations and for voting. I was probably 53% in nominations and about 73% in award winners. How were you doing on your award voting?
I'd rather not say in this case. I'm not going to say who or what I voted for so as not to offend anybody that might be listening or watching. I will say, just as a coincidence, Heated Rivalry Season 1 is about to come out in a special box set. As we are shooting Season 2 right now, it's hot in production and everyone's excited to see it. So maybe that's the most I want to say about that, Scott.
It's very interesting, and I had fun with it for nominations. Our good friend Jason Caceres was in an episode of Hacks as a waiter, so I nominated him for Best Supporting Actor. And I had a little fun with it, I have to admit. But yeah, it's always a good time, and I appreciate being part of Galeka, and I know you do. And we find some great interviews from there, which
very much so
we will talk about in the future. That's pretty much all I have. The only fun thing I have that I'll finish with, and then you can finish with whatever you want. I do like a good Hollywood stunt, and so this is airing, as I said, on Friday. We're taping this on Wednesday. But as far as Hollywood stunts go, for everyone who ever said I could live at the movies, Neon Pictures, who gives us some great screeners every year, is trying to call the bluff. The distributor is doing an endless screening challenge starting today, August 21st, at New York City's Metro Private Cinema. It's challenging 4-person teams to see 36 straight hours of the South by Southwest horror breakout film, It Ends. They're playing it 36 hours back to back. 4-person teams, you earn 25 cents for every minute they hold out, which brings you $540 if you watch all 36 hours, plus a $500 bonus if all 4 of you go the distance, and a $250 concession credit. So the movie is releasing. I just love stunts like this. Who knows? Horror's not my gig, but I thought it was fun to report on today. What do you have to wrap us up with, my friend?
That's it for me. I think we covered everything I wanted to talk about this week.
There you go. Well, happy birthday again, my friend. We are here every Friday. Sure to tune in. Left of Straight podcast, Entertainment Exposed with Scott Fullerton and David Reddish. We will see you next time, everyone. Have a great week, and bye-bye.